What up, fam? Hit that like, hit that subscribe. This is A2D Wednesday nights. The Phillies, World Series or bust? Come talk with us. Let's go.
I mean, how silly is that, man? We're talking about practice.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you. Let the celebration begin.
Welcome in, everybody. This is A2D Wednesday nights, only on A2D Radio. Every Wednesday, we are brought to you by Baggio's Bread. They're located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, home of the best stuffed bread, tomato pie, sandwiches, cutlets, meatballs. Mention A2D Radio. Get 10% off your in-store order. As always on A2D Wednesday nights, Noah Eaton, Pete Young, Greg Mlagovic, Luke Brown, Heel Chrome. He don't even get a real name. I'm Tom Arnone. Welcome in, everybody. Let's talk about it. Sixers, Clippers, post-game thoughts. We'll dive into the last 30 seconds of a mess that disaster was, and we'll dissect that and tell you where the Sixers stand if you give a rat's ass. We won't have Mitch on this week, but we will have Here's the Thing starting next Wednesday with Mitch Williams, so we'll bring that to you every Wednesday night, baby. Phillies, Braves. We'll give you the series preview, the opener preview, the second part of it. Not second part, but second segment of the show. But our main topic at hand, talking about a baseball team. Been to a World Series in 2022. Had an epic collapse in the NLCS last year to the Cinderella Arizona Diamondbacks. Now we're going to talk about, is it World Series or bust for the Philadelphia Phillies? Right into our poll question. Let us know. The Phillies season will be a disappointment if they don't reach the World Series. Do you agree or disagree? Let us know. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. That's where we're live. Everywhere you get your podcasts, we're there as well. Hit the like, subscribe, follow. Most importantly, join the conversation with us tonight. The Phillies season will be a disappointment if they don't reach the World Series. Agree? Disagree? Or are you in the middle? Are you lukewarm, per se? I'm not lukewarm. Completely agree. Disappointment's an understatement. Guy, you don't put together a roster like this and say it's not World Series or bust when you've been to one. You were just on the doorstep of one. It's not just World Series or bust for the Philadelphia Phillies. It is win a World Series or bust for the Philadelphia Phillies. I will double down. I will double stamp, a triple stamp up in this right now because that's where we're at. You don't have Bryce Harper. You don't have Trea Turner. You don't have Zack Wheeler, Nola. You don't have those types of players and not be win a World Series or bust by off of your previous 2 years. That's 101 for any fan of the sport, the team, etc. You're on the doorstep. You're on the doorstep, and you're running it back, essentially, organizationally, too. You're running it back. You can't roll out a lineup like you can roll out for 162 and have those two types of guys at the top of your rotation, have what MLB.com projects as the number one bullpen in baseball, which is a lie. Okay, but you don't have those types of things and it not be World Series or bust. Let's not let the Philadelphia Phillies off the damn hook here. I know it's hard to win one. I get it. But it doesn't mean they're off the hook if they don't go back to one. And the last team standing from the NL. I don't care about the Dodgers. I don't care about the Braves. I care about what's going right here in the city of Philadelphia. And this team is built to win a world championship. They are built to win one. You don't give Bryce Harper 10 years and it just be okay with getting the NLCSs. Okay, if that's okay with everybody, then you all better take a step back and crown Donovan McNabb and crown Andy Reid for their success here in Philadelphia. And it ain't work like this. It don't work just one way where, the Eagles can just be on the doorstep year in, year out, and not win it. And we look at that, not all of us, some look at that as a failure per se. And then say the Phillies can just keep getting there and Red October. Oh, Red October's here. Yay. No. Absolutely not. They are built to win. They're good enough to win. And you can't do what you did over the last 2 seasons and at some point not cut the Nets down. So it's time. Couldn't agree more to a poll question. The Phillies season will be a disappointment if they don't reach the World Series. Agree or disagree? And if you want to double stamp, a triple stamp, you can just go, oh, they got to win one. They got to win one. Mark's gonna be a lot of rants tonight, baby. Get buckle up for tonight. All right, boys, go ahead. Circle jerk the room. Let's go.
I'll go. Definitely. I like your point on the doorstep the most. I was actually going to bring it up. I kind of feel like a lot of times people refer to the Sixers. They say, is this year we make the Eastern Conference Finals? So then it's like the season's over. I also was having this conversation, and it's a bit off topic. I feel like this whole tournament thing, the NCAA tournament, once you go to the Final Four, you can kind of just be like, well, I was in the Final Four, and then the national championship game has Final Four on the court in the national championship, whatever. But yes, to your point, 100% agree. They should win it. And if you don't think they should win it, you don't think they will win it, why are we all so hype on these signings all the time? Why do we talk about it? What's there to talk about? What's to talk about the comparisons and all that of previous teams to 08 and all those kinds of things? Like, if the time is now, they have to win now. And I think they have the ability to do it. And more importantly, Bryce Harper's healthy going into the season. And I believe, knowing him and how much he wants to win, I believe he did a lot of work at first base over the summer. I believe that 100%. So I expect them to not do that, but I have higher standards. I don't want them to be one of these wild card teams. Take the division. Like, take it. It's yours to take. You own them in the playoffs, and I'd rather do that than, do what the Braves do and win in the regular season and choke. But take it. Show your dominance. Like, that's what they should do, because they've been dominant in the NL the last 3 years. So prove it. Do it from start to finish. I have really high expectations, let alone a World Series. Like, let's up the bar even more, even in the regular season. So, yeah, definitely agree.
Yeah, great. I mean, great points, right? We're great minds think alike.
Yeah, to back up your point there. Look, completely agree. Number one. Number two, it starts Friday. Let's go. Let's show them this weekend what we're made of. Maybe take 2 out of 3. Hell, why not sweep Atlanta? Make a statement early on. Get off to a fast start. Enough of these slow starts. Like you said, from 162, from day one here in late March, early April, all the way through to October, we need to get it done. It's time. Like you said, Harper's healthy. You have a dominant pitching staff, dominant lineup. You got a pen with rocket arms. There's no excuse, period. I mean, look, I'll ask all of you, how did you all feel when we got swept by the when we got beaten by the Arizona bleeping Diamondbacks in games 6 and 7 at home? How'd you feel then?
Looking for plane tickets to Arizona. That's how sure I was.
I mean, I didn't feel too good. You know what I mean? I didn't feel too good. I was fucking pissed. There's no excuse. Finish the job. It's time to finish the job this season.
Listen, you're right. And I don't think there was enough people that were pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think for some reason they get a little free pass a little bit at times. They have for some reason. 08, 05, 06, 07.
Oh, because we were singing songs in the stands and having so much fun. Like we're at a concert. I mean, what
dancing on our own.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
We were dancing on our own. Yeah, we were dancing on our own, all right. Yeah, right out of the fucking playoffs.
That is factual.
Yeah, so, I mean, listen, I don't think they get enough heat for what happened last year. Now, that's over, right? I'm not going to go walking around giving them heat a day, 24, 48 hours before opening day. I'm not an animal. Okay, but, they didn't get enough in November because the Eagles saved their ass. That's what happens. The Eagles saved them. Now, if the Eagles stunk right then and they got off to a bad start, then it just would have been an onslaught for both, right? But the Eagles saved them by getting off to a air quote hot start record-wise. It saved them because then there was a ton of Eagles stuff to talk about, and they just sort of we just collapsed against the Arizona Diamondbacks at Citizens Bank Park, nonetheless. Like most teams don't ever recover from that. I'm very interested, and I believe in this baseball team. I'm very interested to see what their response is. Like Noah said, right out the gate Friday. Right out the gate. What is your response? All right, back to the poll. Philly season will be a disappointment if they don't reach the World Series. Agree or disagree?
With the way it's trending, I kind of think they have to make the World Series. Like, you can make an argument of whether or not they have to win it, but like they have to make it given everything that happened last season, considering like the collapse, the epic collapse that they had last season. Like, you don't do all these things if you're not trying to go back to the World Series, if you're not trying to win the World Series, you're not extending Nola, you're not trying to bring back Wheeler, you're not going out and get a guy like Merrifield. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not putting out a young guy like Rojas if you're not 100% believing him right here, right now, because you're saying to yourselves, we're willing to handle the first 7 guys. We believe in them enough to where we can start essentially a guy who's played 20, 30 games in MLB because of his glove. Like, with all those things, like, you have to win. And like, this is a perfect time this weekend to get it done. Like, show them who's your daddy. Show them you are the bad bitch in town. Like, you can't stop us. This is who we're gonna dominate you. Or
That's right.
To quote Cody Rhodes, it's time to finish the story, okay?
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off that a little bit too is you don't go out and offer Yamamoto $300 million in the offseason if you're not all in to win. You know what I mean? And I was watching MLB Network the other day, obviously because we're all pumped. And by the way, I absolutely agree to the poll. You know, you sit there and when you come up with when you're coming up with topics and you're thinking, man, are we spoiled? Like, if we go, are we World Series or bust, right? Are we that spoiled fan base that we're not going to take anything else, right? But you step back and you realize with this team, no, you're not, because this team is built that way, right? And MLB Network the other day went over, they were talking about the Phillies, and they talked about the Trea Turner, right? Before the Trea Turner, the ovation, right? He was batting, 230? You know what I mean? He wasn't playing good defense either, right? And the team was, 500 or below 500. After that ovation, they played 10 games over 500. And obviously, until we collapsed, we were the best team in at least the National League, if not all of baseball after that, right?
Yep.
And you don't think that Trea Turner is going to have a worse year than he did last year, right? You hope that you're getting that MVP candidate that you thought you were getting last year. And we also have a front office that if we're not doing what we need to do by midseason, we're going to make a change. Something's going to happen, whether it's a trade, right? Whether, you're bringing up a young kid from the minors, right? Something's going to happen at the deadline if we need to get there. So, yes, absolutely agree. And no, we're not being picky about it either, right? This needs to happen.
Yeah, no, Greg, it's spot on. Like, we're all hitting the nail on the head here with this. This team's too good to just be like, oh, it's okay. Like another NLCS. Well, like, we haven't been spoiled. Like, we sat through Drek for a decade.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's not act like this was like a quick turnaround from 08, 09, and 10. It sure as hell wasn't. Or 11, whenever we stopped winning. Okay? It wasn't like, oh, look, we're so much better. We were literally jerking off over our top prospects in our system that weren't even listed on the top 100 and MLB pipeline. I mean, that's what we were dealing with.
Tommy Joseph season.
Yeah, like, look, I mean, the stuff that they ran out there was absurd. Absurd, okay? For a big market team was absurd. So the greatest thing that would ever happen was stupid money. Mm-hmm. And they've done that. They have not shied away for spending the money on what they believe are the right fits here. So, I mean, we'll get to it after Chrome goes, but I trust in Dave Dombrowski arguably more than any other general manager. Actually, I'll go on that list. I'll go out there. I trust Dave Dombrowski more than I trust Howie Roseman. And you all can tell me I'm crazy, but Dombrowski's got the resume. Howie's got a great winning resume. He's got one.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere Dave goes, they win. That's all.
Yeah,
That's all. I'm not saying he's great at creating a team and building his own, but he did build this one.
Not only that, Dave won in Detroit, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, nobody wins there.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
nobody
mean,
wins.
what the fuck?
Nobody wins there.
Crazy,
All right,
John.
Cromer.
I think surface level, you would say maybe not so much because, listen, at the end of the day, the Dodgers went out and landed a guy like a Yamamoto. That team has invested a ton of money in there. Even today, Arizona, I think Arizona's a tough out. I think Arizona's a lot better team than they put on last year.
Jordan
And then they go
Montgomery
out and added
stinks.
Jordan Montgomery for a 1 year, to me, 25 minutes. That's a deal for them. However, I'm going to agree to the poll. And the reason I'm going to agree to the poll, a lot of reasons you guys said, but listen, this team's not getting any younger. Okay. It's not getting any younger. The nucleus of this team has been together for a number of years at this point, right? Obviously Trey came on last year and Stott and Bohm are still very young. However, the nucleus of this team's been together for a little bit. And at this point, the result has to be there. They need another trip back to the World Series. They have to, at the very least, a division is a must. This team could have beaten Atlanta last year. They came out again. They were slow like they've been the last couple of years. I know injuries affected them, but the fact that Bryce is healthy is huge for them this year. And he's going to, I would assume, stay healthier because he's playing first base. He's not playing the outfield now at this point. And I can't imagine a professional hitter like Trey comes out and struggles like he did for the first half of the season last year. And I think, honestly, I think he's the key. I really do. Because, I think you're going to get what you get with Nola. You're going to get a lot of really great starts. You're going to have a couple head scratchers, but he's a bona fide high-end number 2 at worst. Wheeler is Wheeler. I expect no fall off from him. I really like their bullpen a lot. Mm-hmm. The key is, can these guys who scuffled last year or who were hurt last year put it together, right? You need Nick Castellanos to come back and bounce back this year. That could be a devastating blow if he's not productive again. But if they can get these guys back on track, a healthy Bryce Harper is an MVP candidate year in and year out. And Trea Turner is a batting champion waiting to happen year in and year out if he's hitting like he should. This team should be able to go and combat those pitching staffs as far as the lineup, because I think that's what differentiates them. I like their lineup when they're hitting a lot better than I like the Dodgers. The Dodgers got a lot of good pitching, but if you can hit and you can hit situationally, you're good. That's going to be the key this year too. JT Realmuto and situational hitting, because he really struggled with that last year. His numbers on the surface looked similar to what he's done, but if you look at his situational hitting and runners in scoring position or runners on base, it was not very good. And he's one of your big bats. He's one of those guys you rely on. So if he can bounce back this year and hit a lot better in those situational, circumstances, I think the Phillies are primed for a big run, 95-win season potentially.
Yeah, and that's what I want to. I want to get to you guys. I want to get to that part of the show too, and on where you guys think their win-loss total is going to be at. What do you think their over/under is, Greg? I don't know if you know what like DraftKings or FanDuel,
89.5,
or just call Ohtani. Either way,
eBay.
Well,
eBay. What's the line you got?
Yeah, speaking of Shohei, he's not even guaranteed to play a full season, is he? I mean, is a possible suspension looming here?
Maybe, but
well, listen.
If I were the Dodgers GM, I'd be a little worried right now.
Well, listen, if he gets pinched for betting, it's not a suspension. He's kicked out of the game.
Right. Well, yeah.
Well, we can talk about that at a different date. I'm not Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers aren't going to make or break what I want to do. I'm good enough, right? So Ohtani or no Ohtani, I don't give a shit. Okay, I supposedly have an MVP.
Agreed, but
I'm supposed to have an MVP. No, just talking. I supposed to have an MVP candidate here, right? Bryce Harper has to be healthy. He has to be healthy. I'm not taking a shot at him. That's my dude. He cannot be hurt. He's got to give me 155. He has to give me 155. I know he wants to give us 155. But anything less than that, this team isn't as good. That's just the facts of the matter. When you take that out of this lineup is extremely deep, in my opinion, arguably one of the deepest in baseball. But when you remove that piece from it, it sure as hell isn't as deep. Because JT Realmuto, I'll trade 6-0 Sanchez for him every day of the week. But he hasn't lived up to the best catcher in baseball. Right? No, he hasn't lived up to that. He's been great defensively. I get all that. But he has to have a big year. You need some big years from guys. Trea, the guy I think can have a big year, but it starts with Bryce. This starts and stops with Bryce Harper.
It does. I think another really big key for them, I expect Stott to kind of carry on and continue to develop. I think you need a big year from Bohm. I think you need him to be more consistent because he has the potential to be a really, really good, but borderline all-star caliber player in this league. And if he can be that in this lineup, it's dangerous because I look at their lineup.
I think what it hurt, he was consistent during the year, right? He was consistent during the year, but he only scuffled really in the postseason. He besides getting hurt in the year, he was having a monster year. He really was. He was going to, if he didn't get hurt, he was going to lead our team in RBIs. That's the kind of year he was having. But to your point,
did he have last year?
I don't remember. I'll go look. But to your point,
somewhere right around there.
His finish was bad.
Home run guy. That's my thing. Is that's the next step for him, right? I think he's I think he could be a 25 to 30 home run guy, and say 95 RBI type of guy. I think he really could produce that much if he could lock in a little bit more. And all I'm asking is just a step up. He's still young, so I don't expect him to be the whole show right away. But that's the thing, right? Trea should be Trea. A healthy Bryce should be Bryce. Schwarber's going to do what he does, which is going to be a 200 batting average, but a high on base percentage, and he's going to crush balls out of the ballpark, right? All these guys are the expectations. To me, him and Stott at their age, with their development, they're the X factor because those are the guys that. How good can they be? Because that's like adding another bat to your lineup if they take steps up. People complained about, and you guys talked about it. I thought you guys were really good about it. I think on Agree to Disagree, Tom, about this Phillies team didn't necessarily have to go out this year and make all these additions. They just need to get healthy, and they need their young guys to develop more. And that's how they add to this ball club. And I think that's going to be the key. If Stott can continue to roll like he was rolling last year, and Bohm can do it and roll into the playoffs, that's an X factor for this lineup.
Yeah, Bomer 274, 31 doubles, 20 homers, 97 RBIs.
There you go.
Yeah, well, the key is 145 games.
Yeah, if he doesn't miss that, week to 10 days when he was injured, he obviously gets a hundo.
Yeah, it's 100.
But you're right.
They're the two. Yep. Sorry, go ahead.
That's that trio of young guys, right? Marsh, Stott, and Bohm. If two of the three can make a leap forward into stardom, right? You know what I mean? Continue their progression as major leaguers. I think this team it sets them up to be back to where we want them to be, right?
Yeah, if everybody's healthy, I expect those two to keep taking jumps. Like we talked about on Sunday, they're both first-round picks. They've both proven they can play, right? They've gotten better each year. And now they're coming into their prime. So, Chrome, to your point, they're not that young, right? They're young, right? But they were young. Now they're 26 and a half. Guys are going to be turning 27, 26 this year. That's coming up into your prime run. Yeah, that 27. Yeah, that 27 to 32, to your point. That's where that leap's going to come, or you hope it comes. And I don't see why it wouldn't for both of them. I think they're both tremendous, and I think they're just going to keep getting better, especially if guys are healthy in this lineup. Where how do you pitch to everybody? That's where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
But do you think over 89? Anybody got under 89?
Without a question, over.
Over.
With all of us agreeing, I'd be shocked if we're under 89.
Yeah. Last year was 90.
Way over.
Really the way things are looking at for the next month and a half, Taiwan Walker, I think one of the underrated aspects is what's going on with the back end of the bullpen. Christopher Sanchez, Spencer Turnbull, one of the biggest red flags, one of the biggest issues to start the season last year, and probably a big part of why they had such a slow start is because that 3 to 5 spot you could not trust it. Like everyone was hurt. You're doing bullpen games like every 46 games, and it was killing you. Like if you can legitimately have Sanchez and Turnbull just give you 5 to 6 solid innings an outing, like you have a really good back end of the rotation, and you're not going to have to need to do these awful bullpen guys, and you're not going to need to waste your bullpen on things like this. I think those are two guys I'm paying attention to a lot heading into the first month or two of the season.
Yeah, I think you look at a little bit of everything, when it comes to your staff. Walker being out's not ideal for them at all, but that's why you're paying your first two guys the money you are.
Yep.
Right? They got to go out there. They got to go out there and light it up. They got to be really good from day one.
And you look at the staff what they did last year, right? Nola 12 wins. I think Wheeler 13 wins. Taijuan Walker is obviously not going to lead the team in wins this year with 14, right? Yep. But also Ranger Suarez isn't also going to win only 5 games or 4 games like he did last year, right? So that's where that I think give and take is going to go. I think you're going to see Ranger at the 10 to 12, and if Walker comes back and gets you 9-10 wins, and you potentially have 4 guys at double-digit wins in your rotation, with your top 2 hopefully in that 15 to 20 range. I mean, that's how you get to those 95 games, right? You know what I mean? Like, that's how you get to 95 is Ranger takes another step up. Because everybody, we all thought he pitched really well, but he ends up with 4 wins or 5 wins. It was really odd year.
Dude, he was never healthy.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
This is why you hear me talk about 6-man rotations. I'm not pussifying baseball. I'm not doing it. Baseball is shorting their life up. That's what they've done, the players. All right, everything's condensed. There ain't no goddamn break. What breaks do these guys get? 2.5 months if you're pitching that deep? You out of your damn mind? That's what we're giving. That's why Tommy John is sky effing high right now. What? Because the UCL is just flying off arms. Hey, there's my UCL. See ya. So there's a way to combat it. Like you want to do bullpen games like you do, dude. I would run. Forget the bullpen game. I'll just run a guy out there for 4 or 5 as my 6th guy. I don't care if 4, 5, 6 are giving me 5, 5, and 5. I don't care. Because the longevity of my studs matters. Like this has always been a second half group. Doesn't mean you can't be a first half group. What I'm saying to you guys is you set yourself up after the All-Star break. Because you're talking about Wheeler and Nola have thrown a ton the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. If you ain't concerned about Wheels getting hurt, I can't help you. I'm not trying to talk into existence, but he's been shelved 2 years in a row for arm fatigue. The same conversation. You got to figure that out at some point. I don't want Jordan Montgomery. I think he stinks. All right, one good year doesn't earn you $25 million. Let the D-backs go out and take a shot. That's fine. They got to play the Dodgers a ton. So good luck. All right, good luck to them this year.
I think a 6-man rotation would be great. I think it'll allow these guys ability to rest and recover a little more. Most importantly, they'll be even more effective late in the season, and they'll be able to go deeper into games. I mean, enough of this 5 and 6 inning shit. If you're able to give them that extra day of rest in between starts throughout the season, I think that could pay huge dividends. Where your guys at the top of the rotation and Wheeler and Nola, they can go that 7, 8, or even 9 innings. All right. I'm not saying they're going to pitch a complete game every time out, but they're going to be able to go much deeper. Ranger will stay healthier and he'll be able to go deeper. Another question I wanted to ask you guys is, do you think Rob Thompson's going to give Ranger a little longer leash this year and see how that pans out?
Well, before we answer that,
it's all going to depend on his health.
Right.
Yep. Hit the like, subscribe, follow, join the conversation. We appreciate it. Keep it coming, baby.
If you're on YouTube, we're so close to 10K. Get us there, please.
Keep the followers, subscribers coming. Keep pounding
10K,
it.
10K, let's go.
Keep pounding her, baby. Listen, what I'll say to the Ranger is what Pete said is it's going to depend on his health. Last year, he was not healthy.
Right.
Again, threw a lot more than he ever did in his life. So that's just going to determine that. But when you talk about 6-man rotation, you could find a diamond in the rough that you didn't know about. Like, it doesn't guarantee whoever that 6th guy is can't be good. What happens if that guy's better than your 4? So you might even find something out. You almost get an extended spring training. I ain't talking about doing it until August. I'm talking about doing it till like the end of May. Like, you do it for 2 months. That's it. Or you do it to the All-Star break, and then you redo your rotation. But I don't think you have to go that far. I think 2 months get you further away from the cold weather too. There's a couple factors that go into this, right? Now push you a little further away from cold weather games too. Like, you got wheels going in 48. Like, you think that's bueno? You think 85 and 48's good? That ain't good for nobody. This ain't postseason adrenaline.
And you look at what the front office did, right? With Snell and Montgomery being out there as long as they were. The organization obviously likes Christopher Sanchez enough, right? That they didn't want to go out and get a big name, right? So, Tommy, going to a 6-man rotation takes pressure off of a guy like Christopher Sanchez while allowing you, if they do it, him to get work where they think that he's effective. And he didn't pitch bad down the stretch, right? He pitched really well for us at times last year. And I think, obviously, you get a guy like Yamamoto out there, you're going to go cards all in, right? Like, here, nutsack on the table. Here it is, your call, right? You chose to go with your betting buddy over there in L.A. Cool, no big deal. But as long as Snell and Montgomery sat there and sat there as long as they would. And I'm with you. I wasn't a fan of Montgomery at 25 a year at this point of the spring per se. I wouldn't have hated it, but I would have preferred Snell if anybody. But I think they like what they have internally if healthy, right? And again, feeds right into the 6-man deal. We brought it up so much last year in the precursor to that year, just knowing what a World Series run does to us, right? We saw it so often during our glory years with Cole Hamels, right? How much he would struggle coming back out of 08, 09, 2010, right? And the 6-man, I think, is a huge thing. They're probably not going to do it. But I think a lot of it is they like Christopher Sanchez a lot.
Yep.
Yeah, and as they should. Star Wars says he hopes Walker is good when he comes back. Yeah, if he does come back, you got a tired arm here, or whatever the arm issue is, but it's never
like
ideal.
Inflammation or something. Yeah,
inflammation is never a good time. It doesn't. It doesn't tend to lead you down a good road. Now we'll see. Hopefully,
last year.
Well, he did. He just didn't pitch in the postseason, right? He just didn't throw in the postseason, which was odd anyway.
At all.
But, no, Lorenzen is not back. Martian.
He's signed with Texas, I think.
No, he's signed elsewhere. I don't remember where, though.
Yeah, the Rangers, I think.
What's Grant saying? Sanchez is so bad he's not even making the roster?
What?
He's on the roster.
What are you talking about? He's your 4 right now.
Man. Pour yourself a beer, buddy. You need one.
No, clearly he's poured himself one too many.
Have some more.
Yeah, he's making the roster. So, Greg Miller says, would you guys trade for a closer like Clase? I guess that's how you say it, from Cleveland. I'm not calling them the Guardians, or David Bernard from the Pirates. I would probably go into Clase over Bernard, I think. But I'll go Clase over him because I want a guy who's pitched in big games. I'm not gonna go trade for a closer that's pitched in meaningless games. Like, sorry, I'm just not. That doesn't do it for me. I want somebody that's pitched in some big spots because there's pressure. You come into this ball club to be their closer. Now we have a closer, Greg, and that's Jose Alvarado. So I don't know that there's many better. When he's in the zone, I don't know if there's many closers better. I really don't. If he throws strikes, he just got to live in the zone. Pitch to contact per se, because there The only contact you're getting off you is Yordan Alvarado.
Yeah. Has that ball landed yet?
No, still going. Still going. Like Joe Carter's, essentially. Still
Or
going.
the Albert Pujols off a lid, right?
Like, yeah, seriously.
Oh, God. Yeah, I remember that one.
And Lidge rebounded.
He did. Thankfully for us, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's why you want guys that have experienced it a little bit, right? If you're going to trade for that kind of thing, like small market guys that aren't winning is like you're a little nervous about that.
Yeah.
At least I would be. Like their numbers might jump off the charts, but I'll still be a little nervous. Which guys would you rather have, guys?
From a fantasy standpoint, Bednar's always there, but it's like, you're right, though. Like, what pressure is he closing a Pirates game for, right? I've always been a Class A guy. It's very shocking I don't have him in fantasy right now. But I mean, I don't even think the particulars have to be right for me to be all in on a absolute stud closer like that.
Yeah, what do you guys say?
Yeah, give me Class A. Give me
give
me the guy with experience in high leverage situations.
Zach, how's he not a closer? Like, what makes him not a closer is my question. I'm not like arguing with you. I'm asking you what makes him not a closer. Who would you rather have closing games, him or Craig Kimbrell?
Like, can we stop? Like, and I mean,
and not 5 years ago, Craig.
This, like, this closed-minded idea of like, what is a closer? What's not a closer? What's a leadoff man? What's not a leadoff man? What works best for your team works best for your team. If your closer is a guy who's throwing 101 miles an hour down the street, down the center of the field, and you know what, they can't touch him. Guess what? That's your closer. Like, who cares if your guy is hitting 200 leadoff, but he's hitting 40 plus home runs in a year? Who cares? That's great, fantastic. Move on, people. Can we grow up a little bit? Like, can we expand the mind just a smidge?
Hell, we even had Ranger closing a few games at one point.
Sure.
Listen, baseball should never be cookie cutter. Okay. In anything baseball related stuff. And I hope I speak as enough of a baseball guy at this point to be able to say that. Right. Like I talk to hitters about that all the time. There isn't a one way. It's not a one-way street here. It's different strokes for different folks, and it's different strokes for different teams. Now, ideally, when I have Trea Turner, I would like for him to lead off, but I also understand that, and we can get into this debate. If somebody want to come fight me about it, let's go. But Kyle Schwarber doesn't hit well anywhere else. That's been proven. Yep. So I don't like him leading off, but I'm not going to throw this. I'm not going to have this uproar about it. Like when you talk about the 1 hole to the 2 hole, you ain't talking about like some 200 at bat difference. You're talking about a small sample that he might have 20 ABs more than Trea Turner. Well, that's 20 plate appearances of him losing a baseball. You lead off one goddamn time in a game. Now, my co-host on Agree to Disagree, Brian Wilson, disagrees with that because he wants to sit his ass back in 1988 and he can't remove himself from it. And that's fine. And I'll out-baseball him all day. That's fine because he's stuck old school. It's got to be one way. That's the only way you win.
Way of thinking.
And I get it because I argued this last year. I argued for Trea Turner to lead off, right? They tried Schwarber in different spots. It didn't look good. So you know what? I'm going to leave him where he's successful at, and then because that's my job as a manager to put my players in the best position to be successful. Trea Turner hits wherever you put him over his career, like he's fine in the 2 hole. So what is this crying about? Like I love you, Wells, right? I love you, but that is like you sound like the guy that wants to get rid of the bat flip. You sound like the guy who wants to get rid of dugout celebrations. You sound like that guy. Like, can we make baseball fun? It doesn't have to be some. It's not. This ain't the PGA fucking tour here.
I'd say grabbing a quick 1-0 lead's fun.
And that's why I want to go to Luke. I want to go to Luke. I want to go to the younger.
Nothing.
Yeah, that's fine, but you can get up 1-0 a lot of ways. So that's a fucking piss poor. To me, that's a piss poor analogy. Like you can get up 1-0 a lot of ways. Trea Turner can't get you up 1-0. A double in the gap, single 1-0. It ain't one way to get you up 1-0, right? There's a lot of ways. Don't use that as your guy's reason. Is what I'm saying to you. Use the reason that's where he's the best at. That's it. You end the conversation. You mic drop people, Pete Young, on Twitter, right? You mic drop by saying that's where he's the best at. And ask Luke, like they're trying to make baseball not fun. Isn't the whole point of baseball to draw the younger generation? How is travel baseball sky high around? Every kid's playing travel baseball, but it can't be fun. The fuck are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing to grow the game? We're not growing the game. This game, you go up there by yourself. It's the most individual team sport in the world. The most individualized team sport in the entire world, besides maybe golf, right? Which isn't a team sport. All right. So you take 99 deep. You can't flip it. Shit. If somebody wants to throw at somebody, then throw at somebody.
Yep.
Like, I don't care about that either. You want to retaliate? That's the way the game's been played forever. We've retaliated playing baseball in different ways that isn't necessarily we're going to plunk you. Like, there's other ways to retaliate when you talk about if you want to retaliate to that kind of stuff. In the college game, we're taking away the celebrations and the fun and the excitement of the game. Like, so you're telling me you got to be a goddamn robot? Come on, man. This game's got to be loose. You got to play this game loose. I never told an athlete or a guy who came to me to play for me or hit for me that you got to do it tight. But you got to have the loosest bad intentions in the world to be a good hitter. The loosest, calmest bad intentions.
Fact.
So, and then you're going to hit a homer and you can't have fun? What the heck? What? You know how hard it is a home run? You can't have fun doing it? Especially at the college level? Like, you want to get going the pros for it? I think that's egregious because I would like my pros to be more excitement, right? Because I think it would draw more people in. But the college game is built off energy. It's built off of that environment. What are we doing? What do we do? Why would we take any of the fun? Sorry for this rant, but why do we take any of the fun out of the game? I don't watch golf because I ain't a dryer sheet. Right? It brings no excitement to my life. A guy drove a 300. He's not allowed to be goddamn excited. So why do we give a shit about this sport? Because of a fist pump? I can watch Jordan fist pump and have way more emotion, right? So I don't need that. I don't need it. Don't turn this game into that kind of like you're only going to get the nose up peeps. I don't want that. I don't want that in my game.
Tom, let me circle this back to the Schwarber Trea Turner conversation real quick. I think the thing, right? Batting average is so passe. It's so. Can you guys hear me?
Something's happening.
You're kind of going in and out.
I can hear you.
Everybody's going in and out.
How's that?
That's better.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. To circle it. Sorry about that. To circle it back to the whole Schwarber Trea Turner thing, right? The whole batting average being like the gauge of everything that's very passe, right? If you look at the numbers, Schwarber had 23 points higher on base percentage last year than what Trea was, right? So regardless, when the DH comes into the lineup, right, with how deep the Philadelphia Phillies lineup is, after that first at bat, he essentially becomes almost like a cleanup hitter the rest of the game, or like a 3-hole hitter the rest of the game, the way they construct their lineup. So you're really only giving up that first at bat. It's the old Tony La Russa idea, right, where he would hit the pitcher eighth so that Pujols would become the cleanup hitter after the first inning, right? Except this is the way they do it now with the DH, right? So the way Schwarber hits, he essentially becomes a cleanup hitter the rest of the way, or a 3-hole hitter the rest of the way. Trea slides basically into like a 3 or 4 slot anyway, and you hit the strong part of your lineup after that first time through the lineup. And the thing with him is he gets on base, right? Then it's the job of the guys who hit behind him. So whether he's hitting 1 or he's hitting 2, it doesn't make a difference. He does his job. A leadoff hitter's job is to get on base by any means necessary. So he's still pumping 40 home runs out of the ballpark, and he's getting on base at a 343 clip. And he's done it since he's become a Philadelphia Philly. And even go back to his numbers. He had a couple of down years, but overall, he's always been a high percentage on base guy. He's just not the prototypical. You look at him and you're like, that guy doesn't look like a leadoff hitter. Leadoff hitters don't hit 40 home runs. But look at his other numbers that he puts up. And you know, whether you're an advanced guy or not, on-base percentage isn't very like a super advanced stat, but it's a very telling stat. On-base percentage and hitting with runners in scoring position are 2 very key things in Major League Baseball. And he gets on base as good as anybody else, which is why with the Philadelphia Phillies, in my opinion, he is their leadoff hitter. He is absolutely, the way this lineup is constructed, And you said it, Tommy. How many times they move him around and he just didn't fit right?
Yeah. Well,
And
what?
You talk
Real
about
quick. What is a pitcher? What is a pitcher trying to do first pitch?
Fastball. They're trying to establish the zone right away. And the thing with him too.
Strike one.
And even if we're talking about excitement, right? We talk about the excitement of everything, and the fun being in the game. Even more, I would say, even more than a Bryce home run. When he leads off a game with a home run, that crowd becomes unglued in Philadelphia.
Does anybody think he shouldn't be? Does anybody think, like, would anybody on this panel lead Trea off instead?
No.
Nope.
Not anymore.
Like,
right? So I think same thing. I would have fought, and we probably fought last year, right, to not have it. But once you see 2-3 years of what it's going to be, it's just that's how Rob Thompson's going to do it, right? And Tommy, to your point, it's only 29 at bats or plate appearances. What's the difference between Schwarber and Trea? 29 over a whole year.
I want Schwarber having 29 more at bats, and that's not a shot at Trea Turner, right? I don't care who has more, but I prefer my guy who can hit 47 to have maybe a couple extra.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, no, you're right.
In any
like
other scenario,
Greg, we didn't argue against each other last year.
Yeah, like in any other scenario, you probably want Trea leading off, but like, just better. You're better with Schwarber leading off. You're better because he's going to smash home runs. You're better because he's going to get on base. You know, this is just better for the team. We win more when he's in the leadoff spot. Like, I know a lot of old baseball guys, they can't wrap their head around him being the leadoff guy, but this is just the way the team has to be played. And this is how we're going to win games. And this is how we're going to go deep in the playoffs. And this is how we're going to go to the World Series and possibly win it with Schwarber in the leadoff.
You got the 2 back-to-back league championship series and 1 World Series appearance with him in the leadoff position.
Exactly.
If it ain't broke, you don't necessarily fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean you don't tinker. It just means you don't fix it. Like, I'm not telling you, if he's like 1 for his first 50 this year, see it. Like, then you ain't successful there, right? Like, hypothetically. I agree with Swoopy. Like, Stott could be a great leadoff hitter down the road. But again, like John said and PY just said, they have a better winning percentage too, right? So, like, you can just sort of end the conversation there, and doesn't need to be an argument. Like he says, he's not clogging up bases per se. He does it. He leads off 1 time. So what's he clogging up if he hits a solo homer?
Yeah.
Like, then you have your other leadoff.
Round them all, Kyle.
This isn't this hard. If he hits a solo homer, their thought is they have another leadoff hitter coming up.
Yep.
And then even if he is on base, or if he does get on base, then yeah, you're right. Solo or not on base, you got Trea Turner coming up. He's your leadoff guy. If he gets on base, he could get around the bases. So he's not stealing, right? But you're not stealing in front of Bryce Harper anyway.
The only thing you heard is like a Turner triple. It's like the only thing you're taking away maybe is a Turner triple.
Yeah.
Right, where a guy can't go first to home and score. Like Trea's fast enough to go first to the home to third, probably faster than Schwarber will go first to home.
100%, yeah.
But like, okay, I'm losing maybe the triple. What am I clogging up? If he's on first and a ball's hitting the gap, he's getting the third, guys. This isn't like no disrespect to Greg. Greg's not running.
Right.
If Greg's 100%. Not running, I'm not running. Like to both of us. I'll throw myself into that too.
Max.
I'm not running. So like he's going to get first and third and still have the double. He might not score on it. Right. Okay.
And second and third with Bryce coming up is a pretty high tense situation for the team.
Yeah.
And for the other team.
Yeah, and if he walks,
Wilson's a moron.
Pressure because now you got a guy who let off the game with the heart, like your real big bangers coming up after that should be able to advance him. So again, I never understood why people are so upset still to this day. Like John said in there, like it's not even a conversation. We have the conversation because this is what we do, but we're having the conversation because people insist that this is like something that needs to not happen. You just got to 2 NLCSs and a World Series appearance in back-to-back years.
Swoopy, Nats and Red Sox he was. more than he was with the Cubs.
Has he ever had 47? Because Sweep, I'm just gonna double down now. We want to play the game. I'm gonna double down. Because if you think I'm coming with nothing, who is making me echo? If you're coming, yeah, I'm just echoing. I don't know what's going on.
He had 38 for the Cubs in 2019. That was like the year they won it.
I don't know. He had 46 and 47, and
He had 46, 47 with us
in the leadoff spot. So again, he's never at 47. He's never won it he's never hit over 40 until he was in the leadoff spot.
Correct.
So I don't know if that
What's more at bat, for one thing.
Yeah, so wouldn't you want him to hit 47, or would you rather stick with the 35? Like, that's what I'm asking Sloop. Like, he's anti-leadoff of him, and that's fine. Is anybody anti-leadoff? Nobody's anti-leadoff in here? Everybody thinks he's a leadoff?
When it stops working, that's when I'm willing to change my mind. But until then, this is where we're at.
Yeah.
The results speak for themselves.
The year
like
if
we're into June and he's like 2 for like 88 or something in his best month, like then we can have a conversation. But until that happens, Kyle Schwarber is my leadoff man.
Yep, agreed. All right, back to the poll real quick because we got votes coming in over on YouTube. You continue to vote on it. The Phillies season will be a disappointment if they don't reach the World Series. Agree or disagree? Right now, 84% agree with it. I really want to know the 16% because you're soft as baby shit. All right, you're good. You're good with just, well, it's a cool season. This was a fun season. I'm glad I was able to watch this. What the fuck are we talking about?
We got to sing the song.
Yeah, like what are we talking about? Like, why 16% actually think like an NLCS trip is successful or they won't be disappointed? Jesus, you're easy to please. You know what I mean? You are uber easy to please. Goodness gracious.
Hey, Luke, I'll ask you this. I don't know. It seems to me that some of the younger generation, if you will,
oh boy,
you know, like guys, you're in their 20s or whatever, college age, whatever. It seems like they tend to give Philly sports teams a little more of a pass, if you will.
I don't know about that. I actually tend to think it's the opposite. I think I fall victim. I definitely like when the Eagles were falling downhill. I feel like my generation is big in let's fire the coach, let's fire everybody, fire sale type season. I think it's the Phillies more than anything. That's why when I go into this and I look at an 89.5 win or loss over under, I'm screaming over because they're healthy. And I also think psychologically, this is like underrated with this team. If you look at the landscape of Philly sports right now, the Eagles, in terms of national perception, no one likes us. We never care. You look at the Sixers, no one seems to like Embiid ever. And so it kind of feels like this is the team and this is the story to where every time they make the playoffs, national media boosts the hell out of it. They love it, and it seems like everyone wants them to win. And I think those guys in the locker room, I think they kind of felt that. And, last season, that was a really downer. That was a down year and an upset at the end of the year. Going into this offseason, I have unbelievable confidence because that's what I want from these guys. And I think you're going to get a completely new mindset. I think these guys are tired of being the babies in the national media and being the baby, Philly sports team. Because let's be honest, they didn't win anything. But if you take a look back and compare it with the Eagles and their success and whatever, it feels like the Phillies won one. At least for me. Like, that's just the perception they get. It feels like they won one. So psychologically going into this year, yes, they're healthier. They've been there an extra year. Their younger guys should get better. All those things are true. I think they're hungry right out the gate. Look at their schedule going into the season too. It's ridiculous. They got a pretty easy schedule going into it. They got the Braves, Then they got the Reds. Then you got a series with the Nationals and the Cardinals. Like, they should win a bunch of games outright real quick. So win the division, like I said. Like, psychologically, take it. Be pissed off. Take everything. That's what I expect.
I think to Luke's point too, right? I actually think Luke is 100% right. I think you totally misread that situation, though, because they haven't experienced
wouldn't be the first time
real losing Philadelphia sports like we did, right? Like they didn't go through the Pigeons of before Andy Reid, right? The Eagles and the Pigeons. Yeah. They didn't, they 1980, right?
3-13 in 98.
A lot of us weren't alive for 80, right? So you guys had to go until 2008 to get a World Series. I still haven't seen a Sixers championship. I haven't seen a Flyers championship. Like, they don't know what, like I just turned 39, almost 40. And I've only seen.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Unless you count Villanova.
That boy,
3 times in my life. There really isn't a whole lot of Philadelphia sports championships in this city.
Yeah,
so to them, they only are exposed to when most of the organizations were really good in the 2000s and above. You could argue the Sixers and Flyers, but to me, the Sixers and Flyers are under the Phillies and Eagles, right? So I actually think for them, they're harsher because they think like what they've seen is the worst that you could see when we have seen much worse in our lifetimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be honest.
I saw the 98 Eagles. Oh, man.
But I appreciate that. Like, I appreciate that, like, Luke was I don't know how old you are, Luke. I know you're very, very young. You're in your 20s. You were very young when the Phillies won the World Series in 2008, right? And they stunk after that for, a couple years after that for a long time up until recently. So that's probably
it was absolutely a bunk better. That point, like, right, Luke? Like, you were like,
he was sleeping in like those little tents you would put like on a beanbag chair, those little tents in your living room.
I'm also like, I saw, and a lot of people my generation saw the Eagles win the Super Bowl in high school, middle school, whatever was going on, and for the rest of your life, then your expectation is we need to be there.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, the Phillies, even with my generation, I'll tell you, they lose that game, it's not the same. And I don't know why, but I do think it maybe has something to do with the fact that they are the only current Philadelphia franchise that is supported by most people in national media and just baseball fans in general.
Well, I'll say this. I think when you talked about feeling like you've won one, right? Like you've won one even though they didn't, is because of what you sat through. This goes back to the whole conversation.
Right.
What you sat through for a decade was putrid.
Mm-hmm.
So that's them going to one and winning an LCS that year felt like they won it all. Right. I think it felt like that to the players too. And we came up small.
That's the equivalent, Tommy, that's the equivalent to us when the Sixers went to the finals in 2001, right? Like that's as close as we've gotten. That to me almost felt like a championship year because I won that one. And it's probably the exact same case for them with how bad the Phillies were up until Dombrowski and then Bryce Harper's obviously his arrival, right? That changed the organization. Obviously, it seems like long-term and for the better. But so that's as close as you've gotten to really bad Philadelphia sports. And I appreciate that the younger generation has a higher expectation because I do think the old guard has allowed things to be over, including myself. Like I've tapered my expectations for teams like the Sixers and the Eagles. And the Eagles eventually won. Now I don't, but they are hard on it. And that's why we're like, Joe can say, you guys don't know real losing, but I like that they haven't. Like, you should. That's what a fan base should be doing. Everybody in here, I'm not even a Phillies fan, but I think everybody in here should expect for the Philadelphia Phillies to get to a World Series this year. They are built to do it. They had hard times to get to this point. And that's exactly what it should be. Everybody should have the mentality that this organization and these organizations in this city that now spend money, all of them, should fight every year in, year out for the ultimate goal.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been out of control with it for a decade. This is the top 5 market in baseball.
We're going abroad every year.
Yeah, we're not spending money. I mean, we should be in the conversation yearly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we should spend money all the time. And that was my biggest gripe with the Phillies for a decade is they were just pocketing. Right? They were trying to rebuild the wrong way. Like, hitting picks. and homegrown guys are important. But you got to go land a proven superstar too. If you don't have one coming up in your pipeline, and I think that's what they realized. They didn't hit on that superstar that they were hoping for.
Yeah.
So they had to then go and say, all right, it's time to spend it.
They realized Mickey Moniak wasn't it, huh?
Yeah, well, their own pick that was cheaper. So,
Yeah.
That's a conversation for another day. But that's where I'm at with it. And I think with the Phillies is you're so used to losing right now that that first run and the way you got there, right, was like a little underdog-ish. Weren't expected to, even though you were good, still weren't expected to, and you went on an epic run, right? So that can't get lost in that conversation. But you can't go on the fucking run like that and then come back the next goddamn year and collapse like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then you became the hunted. You got to learn what it's like to be the hunted. And that's what I don't think they learned from year 1 to 2 was that you're going to get hunted now. Right? You just went to a World Series. You just won an NLCS. You're going to be the hunted. And I think they let their guard down a little bit in the NLCS. And there was a lot of factors. Like they hit way too many home runs, way too quick. You knew the bats were going to go cold at some point. So it's just like everything happened at once. It spiraled. But you find out series 1, what this group will be made of for 162 for sure.
And through the conversations that you've seen and heard through spring, it's almost like they kind of got that back, or at least it seems like they've got that chip on their shoulder back, right? That underdog mentality back of they didn't like what happened last year, and we didn't either, right? But I think inside that locker room, we know when our teams are good in this city, they're quote unquote a family in there, right? Like each team is playing for each other, right? We look at the 2017 Eagles probably is the best description and display of that, of truly next man up, play for the guy next to you. And I think this team has that in them, right? This team, because we didn't make a lot of changes, has a lot of the same guys or all the same guys back. And all those guys seem to play well together and play for each other. And that's something that I think can help propel them during those dog days when it gets old, when it gets long, when it gets hot, when it gets tiring, right? The camaraderie that they have, I think, is second to none that we haven't seen here in a while.
Yeah, I mean, Nick talked about it. The difference of like what helps teams winning is just the way they vibe per se, right? They're a lot of unselfish guys and they fit each other. And that matters, man. When you got this gauntlet and you spend this much time with guys, you better be able to connect with them, because this is a sport about connections. This is a sport about grinding for your teammates. This is a sport of unselfishness, even though you're batting by yourself. There's a lot that goes into that, right? And when you get a bunch of guys that, it's not just about their numbers, right? You're on to something.
Yeah, for sure.
You're absolutely on to something.
Yeah, it helps when they get along. There's a lot of road trips, man, over that 162.
Yeah, just a few.
Yeah.
Just a few for sure. Dynasty says unless you're Taiwan Walker. Why? What did he do?
Hey, other than numbers. CBP, anybody looking to check out any other ballparks this summer?
I'll be at Tampa and Miami for sure.
So Greg, no.
I actually haven't been to Tampa. I was
hoping to go and see the Red
Tampa
Sox
Yankees game
for
in
Easter, but they're not available. So
I'm going down to Tampa for a Yankees game in May.
Nice.
Oh,
I'm trying to get over to London too. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
Trying to get over to London.
Nice
for that series.
No, that would be such a fun time.
Yeah,
my friend lives in the UK. I'm trying to see if I can crash with her and go to the Phillies game down there.
There you go.
Go check out the studio where Harry Potter was filmed too.
There you go. I can go see Doctor Who.
Yeah, if you ever get the chance, head up Fenway. It's a good time.
We got nerdy
I've been
here
to
real
Fanatic
quick.
for Easter a few years ago. It was a once in a lifetime thing.
They bought me a lot of beer out in the bleachers that night. That was a good time. It's a beautiful, historic ballpark.
Baltimore's a good time too.
Oh
It
yeah,
it used to be beautiful. I get the historic, but it ain't beautiful anymore.
What, Fenway?
That way.
Oh no,
I get the
had a
story.
great time.
The seats are
No,
all
it's a great time, but I'm saying it's not beautiful though, right?
I don't know.
I mean, I disagree with that. I feel like a good
I like
part,
that.
a good chunk of it is beautiful, but like the old parts that they're just keeping there to keep there, yeah, you got to update it just a smidge.
I might try to get out to Pittsburgh again this year. It's been a while since I've been out there.
That's a beautiful park.
I hear that's a good time.
It's great.
You lost
time.
me at
You
Pittsburgh.
can walk over the Clemente Bridge and enter through the ballpark through right field or whatnot.
Yeah, one of the
There's a
coolest
hotel
things.
right directly across from the stadium that I stay at. I think it's a Spring Hill Suites or something.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'll tell you one of the best ballparks nobody talks about is Truist Park in Atlanta.
In Atlanta.
I mean, that park is what they have at that park. It's awesome. Like they got stores outside of it. They have restaurants outside of it. Like right as you walk it, like as you're walking in, it almost feels like it's part of the stadium. Really cool. Really cool. I didn't say anything good about the Braves.
About Atlanta.
But it is a great park. I mean, I've been there like 3 or 4 times now.
Yeah, would you suggest I walk through Truist Park and go like this?
I did a lot of stuff there. So yeah,
I'll give you a super underrated park. You go out to Coors Field because it's not just the park, which is gorgeous.
Yeah, I'm
There's
sure.
like a 3-block radius around it where it's almost like Wrigleyville. Like it's all bars and restaurants. And I was shocked when I went there. I didn't expect to walk into that. And everybody goes out game day and walks around. It's amazing. It's a beautiful place to go to a ball game.
That's funny. That's exactly like Truist Park. Like they're like twins. Like they all have that setup. I didn't realize a lot of other parks are doing that, which is cool.
I don't think every park does though. I've been to a lot of parks. I've been to about a third of the parks. Not every park's like that. Yeah. So I would love to go to Truist if you say it's like that, because I'm telling you, Coors Field is one of the best experiences I ever had.
Dude, when I tell you, you know me, you know me. Like I like watching games right here. You know what I mean? I'm not the big I got to get to every stadium in my life guy, right? I just hate people, so that's a big part of it. But it's something I would like to do with Cass one day.
Sure.
I'll probably end up doing it with my.
That'd be a great trip.
Yeah, I'll probably end up doing it. It'll probably be my daughter with me and not him. But either way,
that's something you'll remember. He'll remember for the rest of his life.
Yeah, until he might want to go to London to play soccer. So who knows? Who knows? Yeah. I might be dealt those cards.
Wrigley's fun too.
They're playing in Sacramento, Don.
St. Louis got Ballpark Village. That's good.
The Oakland A's are playing in Sacramento. Yep. Yeah, I do miss the real names too, Keys. I would agree with that. Like Three Rivers, the vet.
Yeah.
Now everybody's a
Johnny Mac.
Hey, Con. Hey, Con. It just had a better vibe to it. And you remembered parks more.
Yeah.
Right. Like when
now
I
they
said
change so often, right?
Yeah, when I said Truist, they used to be something else. Like
Sun Trust Park.
Like you can't build a new park like that and the name not stay forever. Like I don't care. I want to knock on the bank store. Like it's a 30-year deal, babe. It's 30 years. Yeah, until we build a new one.
It's like what the Tweeter Center, which is now it's so many.
Oh my God, that is
so many
times. The Tweeter Center.
But you can always tell how old somebody is by what they call it, right? Because our old we're going to the Tweeter Center. What's that?
Or the First Union Center.
First
Union Center is another good one. Yeah.
Yeah, when you think of early Sixers and you talk to someone, man, I used to remember when we were the First Union Center, and you'd be like, what?
I remember the Core State Center.
Core State Center, Core State Spectrum, all that shit.
Yeah. It's like Miami, the Dolphins, right? They had it was Joe Robbie, and then it became 3 different names and 3. It was Landshark Stadium for 1 year. The money they had to spend on branding the stadium down there, it's ridiculous.
All right,
But,
guys. Outside of Bryce Harper, who's the next guy that you think will have a monster year?
Bryson Stott.
You got numbers for that?
Sure, why not? He's going to hit 300. Give me 30 homers. Hell yeah. And how about 105 ribbies?
I mean, we are talking World Series or bust, so.
I mean, come on, let's go.
Wow.
Yeah, everything was
I
good.
think
You got
Ranger
me with
Suarez wins 12 games.
I'm sorry?
So I think Ranger wins at least 12.
Oh, he's winning 15 or more. Let's go.
Now we can't find a loss in 162.
Yep. Now we're going 162-0.
I think Trea gets back to. I think it's back to
dynasty like that.
330, 340, close to a 400 RB on base percentage, somewhere in the vicinity of the 25 to 30 home runs and 100 RBIs.
That would be fantastic.
You know, it's crazy. We could have, 5 guys in our lineup hit 25 or more homers this year.
Like I think Trea could be a 30-30 guy this year.
Yeah,
I think he's an MVP candidate by midseason.
I agree. He had 26 last year. People were calling him, all names in the world. He's my guy too.
Trea.
Like
depending
all
on
these guys
which radio station you were listening to.
And I also think a lot of guys talk about how, you see in the Dodgers and today even, paying a guy $25 million, like baseball, you're just tossing money around in baseball. Well, to me, they paid someone $300 million. I don't think you're going to see him until this season. Like you're adding a guy in my eyes with the expectations I have of a $300 million player this year. Because he wasn't that last year, and he still put up 26 home runs. So
that was the thought process at the deadline, where you're like, "All right, what are you adding at the deadline?" Well, I'm adding Trea Turner.
Right. Well, I'm expecting it now with a new offseason and really just a year under your belt. Like it's hard going into places. You see it a lot in sports, especially here in Philly. For whatever reason, people have a hard time playing. So. So I'm expecting a big bounce back year. Like to me, that's the addition. That's not anything else.
Yeah, you didn't need the addition outside the organization because he's right here.
Yeah.
It's a potential MVP candidate in Trea Turner for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'll stay with Bomer. I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be close to 300. I think he hits 30. And I think he's a 100 RBI guy. I think he has like a monster offensive year because I think he's the best pure hitter on this team. And I'll fight that. So that's fine. You know what I mean? I'll argue with people if they don't know what I mean by that. But to me, he's the purest hitter on this team. He's the guy who can consistently, in my opinion, get to the level of like that 290, 300, like high contact rate type player. So Trea's great too, but you know what I'm saying? Like just selling. But I think he's just a pure hitter. He always has been. When you're talking about guys that are double guys, big double numbers, usually, they were waiting for this. They're waiting for that 30 home run year. That's what they drafted him for. They knew that the line drives double type hitter that he is. They knew over time that could translate. Right, they could translate to him losing some more baseballs. So I think that's where he's at, and he's been through a lot in this city too, and he's responded better than anybody. So,
especially at this bank, you got a hitter-friendly park. I mean, it all lines up pretty well there.
And he's also coming to a contract here, right? Sooner or later, right? He's in his first year of arbitration, right? So instead of going back and forth, to your point, Tommy, because I know you've been on him. Pretty much all offseason, and it's a great take. Go out and ball out and get your contract. Stop dealing with arbitration. Yep. You know what I mean? Like get them to buy you out of arbitration and pay you like the guy they drafted you to be.
Absolutely.
My guy is I'm going to go Brandon Marsh.
Love it. I love it.
I'm going to go Brandon Marsh, and I think he's going to – he had 277 last year. I think he's going to, trend there towards 300. But where I think he takes the next step is I think you're going to see a little bit more power this year. I think he's going to trend near 20 home runs.
Yeah, I mean, you could have – guys, I mean, you could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can make the case that 8 out of your 9 guys in your lineup can hit 20.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if there's many teams that can do that. Here's Brad. Here's Brad, Yankees. You're disappointed every year, Brad. You're disappointed every year.
What have Yankees done in the last decade? Like, get out of here. This is winners only circle right here, sir.
Oh, my God.
We got 27 championships.
Well, back in 1945, we were amazing.
Typical Cowboys fan. Typical Cowboys fan entered the chat.
More recently than either of them.
I mean, I'll be the guy. I think the Phillies could have. I think the Phillies, depending how this year goes, like Tom, you talked about like getting hunted. I think not that we should care, but the way we live today with social media and all that kind of stuff, fans hunt too. And I think that the Phillies are in a weird spot right now to where if they don't win it all, like I mean win it all, they will develop a trend and national people start to get tired of it, of they're going to get hot late in the season, but they're not going to win. Because that's all it takes. And then once that happens and that trickles in, we've seen it with the Sixers. It's like they've made countless amount of moves, and the whole trend has been over and over and over again, not the championship, but the second round. And that's the trend. And you see it with Embiid, he can't stay healthy and all these kinds of stuff. So the Phillies are at a point now where I'm not even saying like, should they win? I think they have to win, because then voices start coming in. The managers in heat, your star players in heat, and all these guys are in heat in terms of the same old story over and over and over again. You become the sweetheart to everyone's public enemy real quick with one more upset.
Well, think about this, right? Bryce Harper wants an extension.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. I mean, whatever. But, bro, I'll give you whatever you want. But if you don't win this year, I sure as hell ain't backing up more years. Right? So there's a lot that goes into that too. Like if he has a monster year and they end up winning the World Series, like I'm opening a checkbook for 4 more years. Here you go, babe. You know what I mean? Right. Just it's like thank you, hush money. It's like hush money. Yeah, exactly. A little hush money for you, because that's where we're at. Like he needs to win. I think he feels that, right? When you listen to Bryce Harper talk and his want to win, his need to win, you can hear it. Mm-hmm. Right, because he knows the one thing left out of his monster career so far is championship. Is that right? Like he leaves Washington and they win. They win. So that's been eluding him. That championship's the one thing that he is chasing, and you can tell by how he is involved with Dave Dombrowski. You can tell how he has his fingerprints over a lot of the guys that are here. I mean, when you're talking about a star player, Whit Merrifield talked about it. I mean, guy called him. Mm-hmm. Guy called him. You think Whit took a 1-year deal? Like he settled. He was hoping to probably get 2, but he came off his ground and settled because Bryce Harper called me, right? Like that's another pro being like taken back by like Bryce Harper called me. He wants me to play there, right? Like that's what Bryce's impact has done. So even if he doesn't win. Right. And I've always been hard on him in ways, not like in a negative way, but I've always been tough on him. Right. In a good way. Because I expect it. Right. But if he doesn't win, I'll even say, man, this dude tried everything. Because I know he's trying everything. Like deep down, he's one of us. He's a grinder. He's a worker. He is one of us through and through. And when you are one of us, he knows. Oh, Tom's fired up. I fired up about my production the last week. Like he knows. Yeah. He knows. You're right, Tom. You're right. You should be, because he expects more out of himself too. And guys like that are the guys that are the most successful in the city of Philadelphia. The ones that say, I don't even need to hear it from you. I know. I know.
I'm hard. Yeah, I'm harder on myself.
Yeah. But no, I mean he's done a lot of recruiting. This whole roster in terms of this lineup is handpicked.
His thumb is all over this.
Yeah, did you get Trea Turner? This lineup, when you really continue to look over it, we got about 10 minutes left here, right? But when you continue to look over it, like Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Realmuto, Stott, Bohm, Nicky, Marsh, and then Rojas or Merrifield, however you go, man, that is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
That is really dangerous to me.
So
20,
so speaking of Rojas,
Yankee-ish.
So speaking of Rojas, because I keep seeing this on Twitter, and it's just kind of just driving me crazy. They're like, oh, if Rojas doesn't hit, we're not going anywhere this season. And I'm just like, if Johan Rojas batting 150 but giving you Gold Glove type of fielding is what's keeping you from winning the World Series, and not your 7 other star hitters who could get you 25 plus home runs, then we have completely failed this season for vastly different reasons than what people are expecting. Like,
Pete,
if
that's
you're
such
failing
a great point.
While all like your Bryce Harper, your Trea Turner, your Kyle Schwarber, your Nick Castellanos, and all the others are underperforming, like that's the big story to me. It's not Johan Rojas.
Fact.
Yeah, no doubt, Pete.
Pete, what I'll say to that, go ahead, Crum.
Listen, real quick. If the Phillies' championship aspirations are on the back of a Rojas or an Edmundo Sosa, you got a lot more problems than
oh my god,
you can even possibly manage. So I don't know where you're looking and what corners of the internet you're creeping through, buddy, but stay away from them.
Oh, it's all over there. It is. It really is. And I think Tom Browski
can't go anywhere without them talking about Rojas, and they're like, he's going to be the thing that holds them back.
It's because people saw in the World Series, in the NLCS, that he's not a great hitter, but he's not going to be an everyday player, right? He's going to be a situational player, matchups and defense, and that's what you pay him for. He's not making big bucks. It's the same thing with Sosa, right? He's a utility guy who could come in and he could play, he could swing the bat a little bit. He has a really good glove. Those guys are just complementary pieces, but they are at no point a huge factor in the equation.
I know Uncle Sweeps talks about this a lot. I talk about it a lot. You ask players how they did today. How'd you do in your game? And everybody wants to automatically tell me how they did at the plate. I was 0 for 3. I struggled, blah, blah, blah. The game ain't played one way.
Yeah.
It is not played one way. I talked to one of my kids about this. I'm not going to say his name, but he's getting better with the bat. But he is elite defensively. Elite. And what I try to explain to him is, that always plays, bro.
Be elite. Yeah.
Like that always plays. This is why we're working. This is why we're doing what we're doing to get better at it, right? But you can never, you act like it's just played to play, right? It is playing the field too. Like somebody asked you how you did. Oh, I made 10 plays at shortstop. No errors. Like start off with something positive. Mm-hmm. You can say I struggle at the plate today or whatever the case may be, but the game isn't played one way. That's what dry jocks on the internet don't understand. Now, Johan Rojas can't bat 150. Let me be very clear about that.
100%.
That doesn't play, right? But if he's batting 240, 250, I can deal with that.
Listen,
with elite defense for sure.
Go back a couple of years ago, right? Castellanos struggled at the plate, but he made some really big catches in some big playoff games, right?
Yep.
That really helped that team in their World Series run.
Yeah,
and it's a fact. It's a point that you made, Tom. It's a really good point. It's because that's what baseball's conditioned, right? Everybody falls in love with the long ball. It's the only sport that their Hall of Fame doesn't count half of the game, which is the defensive aspect, where guys like Jim Edmonds, who hit almost 400 home runs and have 9 Gold Gloves, that doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? So, but the defensive aspect of the game, because you're helping the pitcher out, you're helping get your pitcher out of there, and you guys are getting up to the plate, and you're keeping the guys off the field and keeping them fresh. It's such a huge part, and that's why guys like Rojas and guys like Sosa and these other. That aspect of what they contribute is so huge. The other guys will take the load of the bat. The Bryce Harpers, the Alec Bohms, the Stotts, and Trea Turner, and everybody else, right?
Yeah. If we don't win it, Bryce Harper wasn't good
go out
enough.
there and pick up in the 8th and 9th inning, and we need somebody to track some deep balls out there in the outfield. That's where you're going to make your biggest contribution. And so this idea that these guys not hitting well is going to be a huge reason why this team doesn't get to the promised land or get to the pinnacle is absurd. That's no offense to anybody who believe that, but that's a very uneducated way to look at the outlook.
Well, you're a moron. You're a moron. If you think that way, you're a moron. Because Whit Merrifield was brought here to stop that because he can play left field. Brandon Marsh is a natural center fielder. Okay, then late in games, you got that substitution in your pocket. It doesn't mean Rojas doesn't start games. And that weird rabbit, he says it best. He's a rookie. He came up late in the season. All right, and listen, man, like this is a game about adjustments, dude. This is a game about goddamn adjustments. This isn't a game about like what you did last year doesn't matter. How do you adjust to how pitchers got you out? What'd you work on this year to make yourself a more complete hitter? Right? That's what this game's about. So I'm not gonna.
You don't think he worked? Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna judge him off his rookie at bats in my 9-hole. Are we fucking out of our minds? Like I'm gonna get fired up here now at almost 12 o'clock. Like, what are we talking about? Like, if you don't have Murderers Row previously, and I'm relying on Johan Rojas to single-handedly win me games, then I'm the 2015 Phillies. Like, that's how it works. Like, you got star power. He's been the most irrelevant name to me all spring. I don't give a shit. I don't care if he batted 400 in spring training. It doesn't matter. It's called spring training. I gotta say this to high school hitters all the time. Like, you think 5 at bats works for you, but big leaguers need 50? What the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah. What are you on? Come on. Like, you ain't better than them. They're the 1%ers. And they're setting it up for us. They're saying we have spring training so that we can get ready for our season. Because the more live ABs I see, the more comfortable I get, the more my timing gets down. Come on. I talked to Jeff Singer tonight about the same conversation, right? Who pitched for the Phillies? He said, dude, early on in camp, I'll be down there dicing studs up, dicing them up. And I'm like, dude, what is going on with this guy? And he's like, it's my first live AB, right? And he was joking, like, I'm not even that good. I was dicing guys up. He's better than he gives himself credit for,
sure,
obviously, right? But the point of it is like that's everything you need to know. Pitchers are ahead of hitters. So we're going to dive into spring training numbers. That doesn't mean guys don't have epic springs. It doesn't mean that. Everybody is different, okay? Some guys 5 at bats, they're rocking and rolling. They're seeing that ball well. Those same guys might start the season slow as shit because they just busted their nut. So I don't. The people who watch spring training or look at it for anything more than just their love for baseball, you're idiots. You're idiots. If you look at stats, if you look at their wins, anything else, you're a moron. You're a moron. You are the biggest dryer sheet in the country if you give a rat's ass. I watch guys have great springs come into April and stink out loud. So we're gonna crown springs. We're gonna crown World Baseball Classics. Absolutely not. When the lights turn on, the game starts. We don't get our numbers carried over from spring. That is to get ready for the season. Do you think pitchers are working on things? Hitters are working on feels. Like, come on, man. Know the game if you're going to talk about it. That's all. I'm not telling you I know more than anybody else, right? I'm just telling you that I do. That's what I'm telling you.
Holiday Inn Express last
I'm just telling you I do. Like Chrome banks all day. He's a banker, right? Right? This is what I do all day. That doesn't mean I'm smarter. It just means when you do something all day, you have a little bit more deeper understanding for it. That's all it means. That's all it means. There's not me being like I'm the smartest guy in the room. This is 101 baseball. This is 101. You don't even need to coach it or be around it to know spring training means fucking nothing. Nothing. Besides, don't pull a Reese Hoskins.
Don't get hurt.
That's all it means. That's all it means.
And leave us with Derek Hall. Thanks, Reese. Appreciate you, buddy.
He's so good.
I don't get why people in the city can't let a young player get better. And I just don't get why we can't believe in a young player to get better and their work ethic to get better.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw, and I hate, I'm sorry for always bringing this team up, but last time, I swear. I saw Isaiah Joe poster somebody with his left hand today. If you told me that 3 years ago when he was a nobody and no one believed in him on our team and we gave him away for nothing, and now he's a a really good role player on a good team. Like, what are we doing? This happens across sports all the time. Why can't we just be patient and let somebody develop? He's going to get better. At least he should be. We should expect it.
And not only that, like you don't think that he spent an off season knowing that he probably, if he reflects the way probably most of us reflect, that
right.
he cost the team going to the World Series.
Yeah,
you don't think that he spent the whole off season thinking about that?
Oh, I'm sure he did.
And he worked his tail off, right? You know what I mean? Like,
that's the difference between, like, I feel I'm a fan where I want that guy at bat because I know he's been hearing that the whole offseason. I want that guy at bat. Show me. That's what I want as a fan. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm not
Give
saying,
him an opportunity to write this shit, Luke.
Yeah, I'm not going up to the first series of the regular season and be like, oh well, if you don't bat well, you're done. That's why we signed this other guy. No, like that's crazy.
He's a young
Instead,
player.
he wins the race.
He's a young player, and yeah, guys win jobs in spring training. Yeah, young players, some spring training invite vets. Like, yeah, guys can win jobs, but that's maybe the most it's for, right? That's the most it's for. So no, and
Scott Kingery hit 400 last spring. What did that do?
That person does not. To your other question, Ted. So yeah, okay. What were you say, Pete?
I said Scott Kingery was hitting like 400 plus last spring, and it didn't really do anything for him. So.
Well, look at this. I mean, Ted, to
Cody
comment
Clemens
on
is hitting 350 right now. So
think about it. We have hardly any jobs open right now. Why? Because pretty much our roster is already set, right?
Yep.
And it was that way. It was that way heading into spring training. Like when you have already a ready-made team, ready in win now mode, there isn't much in the way of competition for jobs. They're kind of more or less, barring injury, already etched in stone.
Yep,
Agree?
absolutely. Yeah,
because if it's a shitty team like the Pirates or whomever, yeah, of course they'll have a ton of jobs open because they're still trying to put a product on the field where we're already kind of a ready-made product or already built, if you will.
Yeah, we're already there. All right, boys. Well, listen, it was fun to talk Phils. Was really hoping for opening day tomorrow, but
I know
Major League Baseball wants to continue to put games in March up north. So, just another example of not being able to get out of their own goddamn way. But whatever. I digress. No opening day tomorrow. It benefits me selfishly because I took Friday down this week. So
there you go.
Now I actually get to watch it. I usually never get to. So definitely excited about that. So now I know they're going to lose 2-0. You can write that down somewhere. Real quick before we get out of here, what are your guys' predictions? Opening series, Phillies, Braves. How's the series end up?
Win.
2-1 series win?
Yep.
Yeah.
2-1.
Okay. 2-1.
Yeah.
Fuck that. The Phils sweep the Braves. Let's make a statement. Let's go.
We didn't see that coming. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah. I think 2-1, raucous crowd in Philadelphia once they get ramped up and going. I think they'll come out. They'll take the first two.
Yeah, I love it. I'm with you. We got to take the first series. We're all World Series of bus, right? We got to take the first series.
Yeah,
we got to set our dominance out, right?
Yeah, if we're all agreeing to the poll, and then somebody, we're gonna go 1-2 this series. Not a great start. Not a great onset.
I'll say 1-2. Like I'll say it. Right? It's just they're slow starters for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Now, could it change this year? Absolutely. So I'll say 2-1 just because that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping they come out with a little bit more hair on fire than the years past, right? Again, also doesn't help when you start out, in 45-degree weather.
Yeah.
So not ideal, but this is what we're dealt. So we get after it. Baseball's here. I don't have to go to the game and sit in that weather, so I'm good with it. It's warm in here, baby. Let's go. I can't wait. I just can't wait. And now I feel like I got to put out another post about 1 day left. I might have to pick out another guy. Like officially now one day.
Go back and find another number one.
Yeah.
Let's do this again.
That's only been retired forever.
Yeah.
But no, we thank you guys all for commenting, especially Phillies Talk. Hit the like, subscribe, follow, turn your alerts on. Fuck with an algorithm one time. Let's get our Phillies people knowing where to come to for the best Phillies talk, not only on the internet, but you can even count on the dial too. And that's for you, Fritzy, because I'll fucking school you in baseball talk. I know WIP wants to sell like that.
I would pay money to watch that.
Yeah, that's no great. I got no problem with it. I'm just saying, like, I know I forgot more baseball than he does.
Oh no,
so
I love Chris, but I
think he's great. I think he does a tremendous job. All jokes aside, I think he does a tremendous job. But I will school him in baseball talk. That's just my shit talk. That's my competitive nature. Listen, love you boys. Great show. Everybody out there, we thank you. Make sure you come back next week. Turn those alerts on. We're brought to you by Baggio's Bread, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. They just moved, so make sure you check out their new location. And this has been HUD Wednesday nights. We'll see you next Wednesday. Let's go, Phils.
Here's to